The broadcast is now starting.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday, happy early June, and welcome to another episode, another exciting episode, let's call it that, of the Pixelmail webinar series, and today's offering of the future of your Microsoft 365 digital workspace. Oh man, guys, we have so much to cover today, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We have an amazing group of people here to talk about some pretty exciting things. We're going to talk about Microsoft 365. We're going to talk about the roadmap. We're going to talk about a pretty cool conference that happened last week. I shouldn't even call it a conference. It was a virtual marathon. It was a lot of things, but we're going to talk about it today. If you're new to one of our webinars, hey, hi there. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining us for the first time. If you are back for your 22nd, 23rd, however many webinars you've been to, thank you so much for coming back. We really appreciate it. As always, my name is Michael Wells. I'm an account manager and the partnerships and community manager here at Pixelmail, and I'll be your host today. I'll be helping get your questions across to our speakers. Speaking of questions, if you have any questions or comments or concerns or anything that you want to bring up during this webinar, there is a questions tab and a chat tab. Feel free to throw your questions up there. I'll be keeping track of those, and I will get those to our speakers. Speaking of our speakers, let's get to them. They're the more important people. We've got an amazing panel today to cover all the information we've got. I'm not going to worry about introducing them because they'll do it themselves. So please welcome Eric, Christian, and Ryan. Take it away, guys.
All right, happy to start off here. Thank you all as Microsoft for joining us. I'm Eric Overfield, President, Co-founder of Pixelmail. I'm also a Microsoft Regional Director, Microsoft MVP, and I have with me some great friends of mine, and I am really excited about this, so I'm going to leave it at that. And so let's just kick it off. Ryan, please introduce yourself, and then Christian.
Sure, I'm Ryan Schouten, Microsoft MVP, also one of the organizers for the virtual marathon that happened last week. Excited to be here and love working with the community.
And I'm Christian Buckley. I'm a Microsoft Regional Director, and as Ryan and Eric also are the Office Apps and Services MVP. I'm based out of Lehi, Utah, and I've been a consumer of these online activities, and just with the rest of you, but providing some of my input and feedback on what we've learned from these events and what the information we've consumed.
Oh yeah, we've got only an hour to cover everything, and it's a lot. So I just say let's get started with what our agenda is here. Okay, so major things we want to talk about is the keynotes and takeaway. This is the May event that often occurs, that's been occurring now for about 4 years, I think, in the Office 365 SharePoint space. So let's recap all that. Let's look at all the keynote, the takeaway, what were the big messages, what were some of the larger, broader messages, the announcements. Let's look at the roadmap of Microsoft 365. Let's go beyond that a little bit. We'll talk about Azure as well. And also, I'm really interested in the virtual experiences that are happening now for our conferences. And this is why, Ryan, I'm really excited that you're here with us today because you're on the other side. You just put one of these things on. I think it's gonna be a lot of value to us to be able to tell the community, hey, here's what it was like to put something like this on, and here's what we should be looking for, because for those of you who don't know, Microsoft has already said that all of their tier 1 conferences, so Build, Expire, Ignite, etc., and through July 1st of next year, 2021, are all going to be virtual. So if you want to be consuming this kind of content to help you move your projects forward and whatnot, and learning about these technologies, it's going to be virtual. So I think it'd be a really great experience to see how's this working out now. And so Ryan, I have a lot of questions for you. And then Christian and you and I, hey, we were consumers as well. I really like to get into our experiences, what we think what could be improved, is also how we think other people could drive value from it. Like the marathon had that VR experience, that community zone, and a few people from my team they were in that for a while, and they had a lot of good feedback. It was really cool. But please, everybody, questions. Let's know, you're here listening to us. What did you want to know? What would you like to know about? And some of your questions we might be getting to, so we'll just tell you, hey, cool, good question. We're going to get to that shortly. I hope this agenda's good. I like it. Let's go ahead and get started, though. Let's start at in particular, at the virtual marathon keynote. Now, we can talk about Build as well. For those of you who joined that was Satya gave a 20-minute keynote that was pretty cool and fascinating. But what about Jeff Teeper's keynote from the marathon? And like, what were some of your big takeaways? What are the things that people are going to be caring about, the big, broad subjects? Don't both speak at once. Christian, I know you've always got good things to say.
Well, I was going to kind of give a perspective for folks that weren't aware of this announcement, this change, the fact that Jeff Teeper now also oversees Teams. So that was a big move. moving over where he's owned, of course, he's the the godfather of SharePoint, but OneDrive and Yammer and kind of all the tools that are within the collaboration space. And then Teams has also been moved over and is part of that family. And so I don't know all of the adjustments that are being made behind the scenes at Microsoft, and but that was a major shift. And Jeff has done such a tremendous job at starting up, except for that, a year and a half that he was away from, 2 years at most that he was away from SharePoint.
That was about a year, but yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he's done such a great job at kind of reinventing that brand and strengthening the messaging and positioning. And of course, in this evergreen world that we have, features being released weekly, on just about every product that's out there. So I was excited to learn that he took that over. So of course there were some big announcements. The thing that I thought was the most exciting, of course, was the announcement about the Microsoft Lists app. So that was huge, and I did an interview with Mark Cashman where he provided a bit of a demo and went a little more hands-on. But that was probably the thing that I was the most excited to learn more about and to see and to kind of gauge people's feedback on.
How can we get that video, that interview? Is that publicly available yet?
If you go out, so there's tons of resources that are out there. I believe
the interview
that
you did.
The one that I did, if you go out to Buckley Planet, and it's actually the Loop 365, it's on YouTube, on my blog, and so I write about it and provide links. And of course, if you're just looking for more information about that, it's kind of the standard fare now, where you see it's on the Microsoft 365 blog. Seth Patton has a post about it.
Yeah.
You've got the SharePoint Lists teams, the PM and engineering team that owned that, created some assets. Cashman's blogged about it. He and McNulty did one of their Intrazone podcasts on it. So there's just a tremendous amount of content that's out there around that. But definitely go take a look at the interview that Noah Sparks and I did for the Loop 365, which is also out on YouTube.
Cool. Yeah, some of the things I thought was kind of interesting, especially along the lines of Jeff Teeper taking over Teams, is a lot of the focus of some things that's on the keynote was our current life right now. Everybody's having to shift to this virtual lifestyle. So online meetings are the norm. And so a lot of the features they've added in to kind of support making those better. So you've got the 3x3, the Brady Bunch view, as people call it, that's starting to roll out to tenants right now. Some of the things they demoed and talked about is like the option to automatically kill background noise or to minimize it. So like the demo, like the whole chip bag. I can't tell you how many times I've been in meetings and I've had a coworker that has something going on in the background, whether it's keyboard typing or some sort of noise going on, and it would just be nice to be able to say, hey, not instead of having to say, hey, so-and-so, you got to mute yourself. You can just say, okay, those background noises can just let the tool take care of it. It's all just invisible. The AI can handle it and makes things work really well. Also, I know there are a lot of people that, like if we're talking like Teams meetings, the ability to add in the background, change out the background, kind of like I've got right now, but seating. The ability that, because we've had that for a little while, but now one of the things they kind of demoed is the ability to add your own backgrounds into Teams. So right now there's a hacky way to get custom backgrounds in Teams, but now they kind of demoed, oh yeah, you just go up here and hit add, and it's there. Instead of, okay, I got to figure out which folder it goes into. So, but a lot of cool things that they're making to make Teams a better meeting platform and just kind of make it more seamless as part of what we're dealing with.
Yeah. So I want to get back to the Jeff Teeper thing, because that's the kind of the scuttlebutt. It's, some of us care, most of you wouldn't care, and I get that. So Jeff Teeper is the corporate vice president of, originally it was, well, not originally, but recently it was SharePoint, SharePoint, Office, Yammer, Stream. And Teams, Microsoft Teams was created, was led by a different gentleman. His name was Brian McDonald, and he retired. And so he built Teams from the ground up as an independent component of Microsoft 365. Well, he retired, and the decision was made at Microsoft that the person who owns SharePoint, it's SharePoint engineering, as well as these other services, including Stream, now also includes Teams. Why I think this is important for you is because this is all under one umbrella from Microsoft's perspective, and that's super important. I'm glad Teams was its kind of a skunkworks project to go and do something and not have to worry about trying to integrate it per se. Like, we're going to build a really good product, but it's already ready to be grown up and truly integrated. And so now I think we're going to see a lot of messaging where Teams and SharePoint and the rest are going to work really, really well together. And I'm very excited about that. I know that personally, I believe that Brian and Jeff always got along. They had good lines of communication, they always worked together. But to see this under one lead at Microsoft, I think gives us a clear message of where Teams, SharePoint, and the rest of Office 365 are going to go over the next 6 to 18 months. I don't try to expand beyond that. So yeah, I think that was a really huge one.
I do think that there is a missed opportunity with Microsoft is really big on acronyms, and I was not a fan of toys.
Yeah,
I think that it now needs to be toys.
Toys.
Teams, Office, Yammer, and SharePoint.
SharePoint toys with SharePoint Stream.
Well, yeah. It's the silent S.
Stoys.
Yeah. Stoys.
Yeah. Anyhow. Good. Yeah. What were some other takeaways then? What are some other from the keynote in particular?
One of the things I thought was interesting as well, just kind of along those same lines, is the lists app that they announced and talked about already is integrated with Teams. So it's not like, okay, this is going to be, now I think under Jeff, we have the consolidated effort where those things are going to be coming out together instead of, oh yeah, the SharePoint team releases something and now the team's got to catch up on it, or Teams releases something and SharePoint's got to catch up. Mm-hmm. With it all underneath the same head, there's more communication going on so that when those features release, it's just a part of the ecosystem.
Yeah. So lists, that was a good one. So my original concern of lists is yet another thing. So how's it going to work? But then it became very clear based on who was presenting and whatnot that Microsoft lists are created by those that own SharePoint lists. So this is not hidden or anything as well. This is very public, and that's a really good thing. So I'm excited to see lists come out. I'm more excited now. I'm interested to see how it's going to integrate as well, but I have much more faith because it was created effectively by the SharePoint team. I think that lists needed to expand beyond SharePoint. That's a good thing, I think, for all of us. SharePoint needs to not be the center of everything. There's no need for it to. It's definitely good now to have applications that do a specific task really well, and let SharePoint be really good at hosting those ad hoc websites that you want to create that are customized to create host your files and whatnot. I get that. That makes a lot of sense to me, but lists of data can go way beyond what SharePoint would need. I mean, why should I have to get a whole SharePoint instance instigated if all I want to do is have a list of data? So exciting information. Do either of you have more information, like a good other next spot to learn more about lists? Is it a good place, just Google Microsoft lists?
If you go to the Microsoft 365 blog and search for Microsoft lists, I mean, it's one of the more recent posts, and that's where you'll find that with all the resources. So there's multiple videos that are out there. You'll kind of find it. I believe that is the Seth Patton. I don't have it open in front of me. The Seth Patton post, but a lot of great information. Yeah, and again, I can provide a link to the recording. This
Work from home, yo.
Background music. It's gotta love Chihuahuas. But I can provide a link in the notes here as well to the Loop 365 recording. But one of the questions that I was concerned about kind of the same thing, that like, well, what if I have all this legacy or these legacy or classic lists that I've created? And I said, are you even referring to it as classic and modern lists when you refer to it? And Cashman is just like, not entirely, but yeah, it's essentially the same thing. But there's like the home view, and you can in that home view have all of those classic or legacy lists that provided within that view as well. So it is just an extension of the SharePoint list capability with a bunch of new stuff. But to your point, Eric, too, I think the vast majority of end users would have never gone in and built something straight in on SharePoint that might be there. What they'll more likely do is go build something that's standalone on Excel, or in some other third-party web-based solution. This now provides, and I love that they're doing the template. I joked about the Fab 40 to Cashman, and he grimaced but then laughed. But no, the idea of these templates, so for end users to quickly go in and say, hey, I just want to do for this project kind of an issue tracking specifically for us or for our team, and can go do that on the fly with one of the templates, or 20 or 30 other quick ideas of how people could be productive. It'll make much more sense than they don't have to feel like a quasi developer going in to figure out how to navigate through SharePoint to create and get value out of that. It's just going to be much more user friendly on doing the same thing with SharePoint behind the scenes, with all the permissions, with all of the other things, so that your developer team can come in and extend that quick out of the box thing that you built, and then go and add more on the back end. Go build your Power Automate your workflows. Go and create other integrations with mobile applications and other services within your organization. So it's just going to be incredibly versatile. But for that, the standard end user don't need to know. They just get the value that they need out of it quick and easy in a really nice UI. That's incredibly powerful.
So all this amazing talk about lists spawned a rapid fire set of questions from one of our listeners. This is from Jose. Thank you, Jose, for your question. Appreciate it. First, any use cases associated with list apps?
So what are some good use cases for Microsoft? I gotta remember this, Microsoft lists.
Microsoft Lists app.
Microsoft Lists app. What are some good use cases that you've run into, or that's being promoted right now?
Well, I mean, the first one that I mentioned, like creating like an issue tracking list. Another one might be asset management. So I think that's part of the demo that they provide. If you're doing inventory of computer equipment within your office and tracking that, having visualizations and having QR codes on devices and having all of that in a visualization. They actually, if you look at the demo views of a lot of this information, I'm going to post the link over as well in our shared chat there, so you can show that's the blog post that has the links to that. It actually has, in these templates, it has a number of examples to draw from.
Yeah, in general, I mean, it's anytime you'd want a list of data, which is really nice. What's cool, or what other thing I like about the Microsoft List app is that it provides a very sophisticated browser-based web UI for manipulating the presentation of the list. So this is not just a glorified Excel spreadsheet. It is a cloud-based list of data that you could then format quickly and easily without being a programmer or a developer. It's definitely supposed to be an end-user tool to create some pretty cool UIs, some end UIs with this list of data.
Yeah, one thing I saw as well that they kind of announced as the we've had thumbnail view, we've had details view, now that we're getting a catalog view, where it actually gives you a card of information where you can control what's displayed as well, which if you're talking asset tracking or these things that you're make it more visual instead of just, hey, I have a list of items, you can, without being a developer, choose, okay, I want to have a card of information that lists out these details, and all done through the UI instead of having to go and modify and do custom field rendering and custom list views and all that.
Yep.
List view formatting, all that. It's just built in, it's native, and it's ready to roll.
And then, of course, you can expand on those. Are just the out of the box, the views. You can expand on those things, as Ryan says, create additional visualizations and other views of that data. Some of the other, and I've got open, it's actually in Seth Patton's blog. So the templates that they have is part of the demo, and they're going to be adding other templates on top of that. You can go and build standardized templates for your organization. So that's another beautiful thing about this. You can create and deploy as a feature within your organization. Go and create templates that match your organizational methodology, your project management methodology, your standard activities. But it has incident management, issue tracker, event itinerary, business trip approvals. So the the HR team member owns that, can have this as the workflows are kicking off and it's populated to this view, and people could go in there and track the progress of their requests.
Yeah.
So yeah, just some great ideas.
Just to jump in on that real quick. So this kind of goes in with what you're saying, Christian, and it's kind of a two-part question. Does the list app services incorporate into Power Automate, and can we create workflows with the list app on Power Automate? You were sort of getting into this. I just wanted to make sure that those questions were set out there.
Yeah, that was another question I asked about. Yeah. So I mean, it's when this goes live, you'll be able to go in and you'll be able to create a workflow tied to a specific list item, automatically create a list item, take action on the state of a list item. So yeah, some cool stuff that you'll be able to do.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know for sure, but just from what I've been able to visualize and who's working on it, the fact is, since it's the SharePoint team working on this, it's going to have the same connections as you can do with any current SharePoint list. So it's not going to be, hey, we're going to store this in some funky other mechanism. It's using the same functionality that SharePoint's already got. So all that with the Power Automate, Power Platform, all that stuff, you can still tie into it however you need to.
Exactly.
I'm sure that a lot of people, since this new forum, licensing in GA, is it already out? Is it in preview? Is it just being announced? And what's this going to cost? Do either of you have insights into that you can share?
It's not live yet.
Mm-hmm.
Is it one of those that's into the bucket of sometime this summer, I think? So it's that specific.
Yeah. Hopefully by this year we'll see it come out.
I don't remember seeing anything about. Yeah, don't remember seeing anybody or hearing anybody say anything about when we'll get it. It's just kind of like, okay, here's this thing we're working on. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a lot of. I didn't see a roadmap of, okay, this is when we can expect it.
So
and this is not like an additional. It's not like an E5 license only. This will be broadly deployed as part of a standard part of Office 365 or Microsoft 365.
Yeah, cool. And I'm sure some of that might be, who knows? There might be a freemium model based around if all you want are the Microsoft list apps, you don't want anything else. There might be a more simple Power Platform kind of license for it. I mean, that just wasn't announced, so really we can't say for sure on any of that.
Yep.
Cool. Yep. I'm going to keep the conversation moving, and we can always keep coming back to this. So we haven't talked about it. Another big announcement, not announcement, I suppose. It was more, we got a really big update, and there were a lot of sessions on this at the virtual summit, and even Build had some conversations on this, which was Project Cortex. Are either of you willing to give a very quick, brief overview of it, as well as any of the major updates that were announced? Because some people still may not know about Project Cortex. Either of you want to jump
Actually, Ryan, do you want to go for it? Because I actually didn't attend any of the Project Cortex stuff in this event.
So basically, from what I've gathered, Cortex is kind of a way of being able to have the AI gather all the information that you have and have a centralized location to work with it. So it's going to be giving you hubs for, okay, if you have a product launch or you have a particular product, gives you ability to kind of group that all together, be able to surface that content more simply. Details wise, yeah, I honestly don't know all the details. I do remember hearing that it's supposed to be coming out this summer. What I don't know that I've heard officially what the licensing model is going to be on this particular one.
They haven't said.
So yeah, so it's like, I don't know.
Other than they have said it will be a premium solution, premium
not
services.
E3. That's my interpretation of that.
But what's different about this, and this is part of the reason, and it's not that I was ignoring this for the event. It was actually one of those, and we'll get to this conversation later in this broadcast, for the fact that I was working while this online thing was going, so I wasn't able to attend a bunch of key things, which is a great thing about online events, and it's also a sad, difficult thing about when you're. It's great when you go to a physical conference and you're sequestered and can go and participate. Yeah. And but one of the things that I've been waiting to hear more about, it's not just what Project Cortex does as the product, as the offering that they're building, but it's influence on so many other features, on the overall metadata taxonomy strategy and structure, the expansion of the graph APIs, and being able to get in and do more. So it's going to have an impact that we don't yet fully know, us, the public, on a lot of different things,
Yeah.
As well as those features, and which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah.
The fact that we're talking again after a couple years of hiatus of talking about metadata and taxonomy and all that stuff, which is so critical to information management in general.
Yeah. I look at this as the kind of the May refresh of the announcements of Cortex. So my quick kind of overview would be Project Cortex was more officially announced at Ignite in 2019. It was it seeks to build a knowledge management system within SharePoint. So a very smart driven AI system that has lots of connectors to a lot of Azure, to a lot of other components, all done for you, so that as you're utilizing the information in your organization's M365 tenant, Project Cortex as a whole is looking to bring some context to that and help you understand what things are. And one of the quick demos they show is, say you're reading a web page or you're reading an email and you see some acronym you may not know about, and they use CORS, Project CORS, C-O-R-S. And that would be a hyperlink effectively. It looked like a link, and as you clicked on it or moused over it, without the content out there having to really do anything, the system would be smart enough to know that, and it would create a smart card of information on that. And then you could drill into that knowledge of that specific thing, who's on it, what's the news going around it, etc. That's the tip of the iceberg of this knowledge management system. I have a lot of clients that are interested in it, and I look at it and go, yeah, it looks interesting, but I know there's going to be a lot of back-end requirements, not back-end content requirements. Someone's going to have to curate this content. Someone's going to have to say that these things exist.
Over the management and curation, yeah. We don't know what that's going to look like. Yeah.
And I think it's going to be expensive. Now, it's not bad. It's just, again, no one knows. I definitely don't know. I've not been privy to it, but I would think it's probably going to be, like, if I was a betting man, I would say it's an E5 license requirement for everybody. That who gets to use it. That's just kind of my gut. I can't say it's true or not, and I don't know. That's to me what it's going to cost, and that's not cheap. What I really think is cool about Cortex, and also what I heard again at this refresh, was it's the back-end things that they're going to have to release to us anyhow. So the taxonomy updates that we talked about, the content type kind of updates they're talking about, it's the search. They showed off some search that was really cool that I can't fully tell, but it sounds like we might be getting some of those general search experiences, updates, refreshes because of Project Cortex. So I think we all win on this. I think if you want to learn more, a good way is to just go back to Google Project Cortex. You'll get the blog post that Microsoft has been releasing as part of their May announcements. You can read more about what their updates are. Really, it's just moving forward more. I mean, that's the other big thing I see, is that it's progressing. This is not going to ship tomorrow. It's going to take time. I think it's very clear Microsoft wants to get this right. They're making a big bet on it. They've been very clear. They're putting a lot of resources behind this, and they want it to succeed. And they know if they deliver a half-baked product, it will fail. So they're going to do it right. I'm very excited to see the updates, though, that will happen, just that we'll all get without any additional licensing. Cool. We can come back to that if we want to, but another component that I think has been very interesting was Microsoft Search. So that it continues to evolve and grow. Anything that you'd like to share there that you saw or that you're seeing or updates that you think?
Well, I mean, so Bill Bear, some of the folks that know that name, and Bill was owned a lot of the IT Pro story, the migration, the backup and recovery of SharePoint for many years, and he's moved over to the search side of the house, and he's been out there talking about the being able to customize the search results, and that is just an awesome feature. Again, thinking about how are we actually consuming search results and being able to go in there and create, so it's beyond just a custom view, but tailoring what the results look like so that you can again tailor that experience for your end users and share it over within teams as well, as a tab and curate that experience. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things, just going through the stuff that Bill is kind of demoing and showing off, is one of the things that kind of stuck out to me as well is that they said that in January they hit 100% rollout to targeted release, and he said in his keynote last week they've hit 100% release worldwide. So for Microsoft Search, it is now 100% available to, from the way it sounded to me, everybody has it available to them now. It's just not one of those things like the longest time, like, okay, do I have it yet? The way you can tell is if you have the search bar up on the top and the sweep bar, then you've got it.
Yep.
But also some of the things that he kind of demoed some stuff that he kind of brushed over fairly quickly. And like, I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember that feature being there in my tenant. So I went to check. Like one of the things is the ability, if you're searching for something and you know, okay, hey, it's in the site, they added in a link that says, hey, search within this site for that content. So I was like, okay, wait a minute, go look, and nope, not there. So it's kind of one of those, they glossed over it, but it's one of those things they're continually adding and improving how search works and this kind of functionality. And that's just kind of one of those things like, oh, that would be a cool, I can see use cases where that would come in, searching for a particular text, and I know it's in a particular site, I don't remember what it's called. I was like, oh yeah, looking at that, that's the site. Now let's go look in that site to find the actual content I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And by the way, Bill's new team, it's the Microsoft Search, Assistant, and Intelligence. The assistant part is the Cortana. So it's the, the kind of the reframing of Cortana to not just be kind of an AI, a voice on smart devices, but is that intelligent assistant capability. And I actually paste another link in here. That was episode 3 of the Loop 365. I interviewed Bill on his new role and what he's working on. So it's a couple months old, but if you're interested, just provided that link as well.
Yeah. Search continues to evolve, and Microsoft continues to make the bets in Microsoft Search. So that's kind of my big takeaway of it. The new stuff that I saw, it's more of thank you for finally getting to that, but I want to see it too, because we've been hearing for Microsoft Search updates for well over a year now. At SBC last year, we got some preview that, oh yeah, what you could do in SharePoint, you're going to be able to do in Microsoft Search. Still waiting on some of that. Some of the cooler, newer features that I know about that are interesting, I hope that they do extend. This would be an extension component, things that you can do more as a developer. From a site collection level, you can build a SharePoint framework extension that would allow you to take the Microsoft Search box and have it actually redirect to your own custom search results page. It requires a dev to do that, and it's per site. My problem with that is it's an inconsistent experience from a UX experience. So someone who's working throughout your tenant, I would expect the search box to always do the same thing, but it's there. Something else that you can do to extend it from the developer side is you can create, what do they call them? Not acronyms, but you could, if you typed in something, a word, you could have that word actually get translated to multiple words, let's say, so that search would be a little smarter to know to search for multiple keywords, even though you only plugged in one primary keyword. So that's kind of some cool stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing the ability to customize those results more, to be able to create what we used to call display templates, because basically every client we have is asking for that. They like what Microsoft Search can do, but there's something they need to change, and the current only answer is then we have to scrap it and build our own results. And as much as I love custom development work, that's not what I want to do. I want to be able to see Microsoft Search do it. So it continues to evolve. It's kind of my big takeaway. It's going to be where I do believe it's where we're going to all be in the foreseeable future soon. That's going to be the default experience that we will want to be in. It is the default experience, but it's where we're going to want to be. So yeah, I'm super excited about Search.
Other thing I really want to see, because Search has been kind of a, we've jumped around a bit, but the idea of a federated search across workloads, it needs to be easier for organizations to be able to go in there. And I want to be able to go and do a search from an individual workload. And specify, hey, I'm looking for a search result I'm working in Teams. I just want to see conversations in Teams. That's what I'm searching through. Sometimes you're looking for, I want to see everything for my organizational, my organization. Mm-hmm. That might be across Yammer and SharePoint and Teams and my own local stuff. I want to see all of that, and I want to see those results, that federated view of search where it will identify content and conversations and people and projects and all of that based on the search terms. Yeah. And the only place to really experience something like that today is like on office.com, or I guess if you have it linked to like through like a Bing search where you're signed in and you can see those kinds of results. But again, I think that I would like to see that be an option for an organization to go and build that into the search experience in each of the individual workloads like Teams.
Sure. I didn't hear an announcement recently in the last month on this, or in the last 2 weeks here. Microsoft Search provides that extensibility to outside of the Microsoft 365 tenant, which is super cool. They provide connectors. The current catch is you do need to get approved to be able to do that. They're in a preview, so you have to be allowed in. It is very often that I'm asked, hey, we want to include in our portal experience, we want to be able to search other outside applications such as ServiceNow or Salesforce or Workday or something like that. I am excited to see more. Did either of you hear any more announcements on that? I'm sure we can Google it or something, but these are the search connectors.
Bill demoed it as part of his keynote, demoed the ability to kind of surface content from ServiceNow and other systems. But I don't remember hearing any announcements of like the status, because yeah, they had their preview program that they're going through, getting different connectors set up. He did mention that like just through the graph connectors is what he called it, is how you can kind of embed other content.
Yep.
So graph is involved, so definitely going to require a developer to get involved with it. But yeah, not any specifics about when or what the status of that is.
And there are third-party vendors that are already included in this. One of the ones I've known for a very long time would be like BA Insight. So you don't necessarily need to be a dev. You might be paying someone for this. I would argue that building this yourself and maintaining it is probably not going to be a small undertaking. So if you're looking to integrate external services into your search experience in your Microsoft 365 portals and whatnot, you might want to be looking at a third party, because it may actually be much more cost effective to just pay somebody to do that. Yeah.
All right, it simplifies the process.
Let's keep moving. So we pulled together a slide that came directly out of the virtual marathon. Kind of some big news that has happened this night, which this is not a small list, which is a good thing. I mean, it's scary sometimes, but it's a good thing. Anything here that we haven't talked about that you really want to call out that you think is interesting, and everyone who's listening in, like any questions here you've got? So if I hear crickets, I'll leave it up still for a minute, because I want you all to read this and think through it. Anything here that you think is interesting that you might want our comment on, or again, so Christian, Ryan, what are your thoughts? Anything here that looks really cool? I got a quick one while you're thinking. The raise hand features of Microsoft Teams, so important. So this is for those who haven't seen yet. In Microsoft Teams, when we're in a group of more than a few people and someone wants to say, I would like to speak next, you get to click a raise hand so you can see that somebody wants to do it. My experience so far has been people don't know to look for it, so we don't see the raise hands and someone just interjects. But I think that's a really cool feature.
We used it last week. I did it to virtual high fives, so that was good.
Yeah.
But it's a great way just to acknowledge, like, everybody think instead of, everybody, unmuting their mic and saying, yeah, whatever, using it kind of as a way to signify, I heard you, I'm good, let's move.
I would like to see more emoticons still.
Yeah.
More of those other things that I can do, because it's somewhat annoying to see on the chat thing, yes, from 10 people, yes, it's too much. Like, no, it's just kind of, I want the visual cue, or sort of, if I was in a meeting with 10 people, who's interested in this? Perfect. But what you say, who's interested in, and for a minute, you're going to be getting yes, yeses, because let's face it, a lot of people will be multitasking on any of these virtual meetings. So yeah. Anything else here?
Yeah, one thing is just because, for me, since I'm really interested in streaming and live events and those sort of things, so those kind of near and dear to my heart. I know that the stream team is working on quite a few things, but the ability to kind of, what the first couple things they've got there, the ability to record and share a video just straight from mobile. So historically, if you wanted to load something into stream, you either had to upload a video file or do a full event. So if you wanted to go from mobile, you had to have a mobile application that could stream directly to, from like either through OBS or some other tool that could do the streaming into stream, and then you could get it. So now it's a lot simpler. It makes it a lot easier for other people that aren't so technologically inclined to be able to say, hey, we want the CEO to be able to record a video message out to people. all you really need is a phone. You got your training team. They want to be able to do a recording on how do you do something.
Yep.
Well, you can all just do that directly from the browser now. Say, hey, I want to record my screen, and it just works. It's not like, hey, I need a whole lot of software knowledge to be able to figure this out. It's I hit the button and it's off and running.
One of my favorite tools, I know within my organization, it's a hands down thing. It's the Stream Teams integration. We effectively record every conversation we have, any kind of meeting we have, internal or external, and it goes right into Stream. We get the closed captioning, translation, etc. I'm telling you, I love to see these updates to Stream because it's a cool platform that has a lot of gaps. So I'm glad to see that to continue to improve.
And I was going to make the same comment, Ryan. That I'm so excited to see the effort. There are so many meetings behind the scenes with MVPs, with community members, especially around these events, to provide feedback into the producing experience for live events as well as meetings. Things like the announcement, the support. I don't have the link there about NDI, which is It's the network device interface. It's the ability essentially to break up each of the incoming video streams as separate channels so that you can better produce events and switch between them. It's a very important effort, especially in events like the virtual marathon, to be able to instead of all being part of one feed, to be able to break those things up and be able to smoothly move between people's video, output and slides, and moving like running a small television station. But they're thinking a lot about those capabilities and making them better. Some people are probably aware, I know both of you are, I do the office hours every Monday, where there's a bunch of MVPs where we do it at 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific. We invite any MVPs to come join the panel, and we answer questions, and we live stream to Facebook. And soon we've done it a couple times to Twitter. We're using Restream, we're using OBS, we're a bunch of these technologies where it's been difficult. We've been actually using, we've been doing this for 12 weeks now. We've been using Zoom and have had a lot of criticism for using Zoom, but because it has some of these capabilities out of the box to be able to go and do the live stream. We are now 100% on Teams and using OBS to broadcast to simulcast to the social channels. And we're going to be adding, so through Periscope on Twitter and to YouTube and soon to LinkedIn, we're going to be providing these same things. And so there's been a lot of requests for things like that. Please, Microsoft, offer this kind of stuff natively. Teams, Microsoft has been so focused on, this is my explanation for some of the prioritization of the features, on the enterprise, as we all know. That I think that this whole work from home move around COVID has forced Microsoft to rethink some of their strategies and priorities around features like Stream, and Teams, and doing all these live sessions, to say, there are other scenarios, especially in the education sector, where what we're doing with an enterprise focus is just not sufficient for the needs of how users doing this. And so they're adding a lot of these capabilities, and it's happening at very rapid pace. So that's great to see.
And I've got
one thing is I thought about is like, why don't we do this webinar on Teams as a Teams live event?
We're working on it.
The simple answer is the simple answer is right now we can't do what we are doing. Like they're now to have the three of us on video, all being displayed to all attendees at the same point in time. Teams live events just doesn't support it right now.
Not quite.
So it's one of those things. There's a lot of feature functionalities. Like if you want to be able to do multiple people, like as part of the event we put on last week, we had sessions where they had multiple speakers. We pretty much had to tell them, like, hey, yeah, you can do this, but if you want to be able to show both of your cameras, that becomes a lot more involved and tricky to be able to queue off your producer. Okay, now we need to switch to this person. Okay, now switch to this person, because you get camera at a time right now. So the ability to be able to pull out those different streams through, as Christian mentioned, through NDI allows people to be able to get that same experience without having to go to a completely different platform.
I also wanted to talk about Yammer. Okay, you're Yammer. Well, here's the thing. So at the build keynote, I'm pretty sure I got this right. The build keynote with Satya, he made a comment of, I'm pretty sure I got this comment right. We've seen 2 years of innovation occur in 2 months, or two years of transformation, digital transformation occur in 2 months. I believe it's more like 5 years personally, happen in less than 2 months. But part of that, and I'm hearing this from a lot more people, is, okay, great, so we're permanently work from home. I'm hearing these comments from large companies that would never have done that. And I never say never. I think that they'll eventually start coming back to the office, but they're losing their corporate culture really fast because they're losing all of the moments they had in the office next to each other. And so they're like, great, let's do that in Teams. Like, no. Teams is really good at communication collaboration. It's great for creating a team of people, a collection of people who are working on a project. Teams is just not the best place to have your sharing your cat videos. It's just not. It's not good for having your softball league, really, or something that's supposed to be more open. It can do it, but it's not good at it. I am personally excited to see what Yammer's doing there, that it has turned itself well into, it's the community app. It's for creating these broader communities that are open for discoverability. They're integrating it into Teams, because I definitely see Teams as an opportunity to be the single pane of glass to your digital work life, your digital workspace. But Yammer has that opportunity to re-energize itself within organizations to provide the community aspect, because I personally think that corporate culture is extremely important. It's different for every organization, and you need to find ways digitally to handle that. So all the updates that have been happening on Yammer, I think are really cool. Great way, of course. The Microsoft blogs around Yammer is a great way to learn more.
Yeah, there's two things that people can go do today. I mean, one, with the new Yammer app, there's one thing that I did right away was I went and pinned the Yammer app to the left rail of Teams.
Easy. Yeah.
And what that does is that so you're not having to then toggle in between two applications. And we know that multitasking lie, that you're going to be more, multitasking will be more efficient.
Yes.
It's not. You need to have things in context. And even that little move of adding the Yammer app to that left rail, you click on that and it instantly brings you your Yammer view of all of your communities. You can create communities right from there. The second thing is that you still have the ability in a team on Teams, in a channel, to then create a tab to a specific group or community in Yammer. So you'll have those two ways of you can navigate over the left side to kind of your entire view of all things Yammer, right inside of Teams, as well as have the specific conversation that's relevant to that planning of that project, whatever it is. Have multiple Yammer tabs if there's multiple communities out on Yammer that are relevant to that project or that team.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend, both of them are available today. Go and start using it that way.
Yeah. Okay, so we have two more topics I wanted to talk about. I'm going to actually skip Azure unless either of you wanted to talk about it, because that could take up a couple hours, because the question came in that I think is really, it's almost more of a statement, but I think it's really pertinent. This could take up our 10 minutes, and I really do want to get to, hey, Ryan, what was it like to host a conference? Okay, all of this is great for Microsoft devotees and developers, but I see, this is overwhelming for end user adoption, real sustainable productivity, best practices, adoption, utilization. I find that more of a comment rather than a question, but I think it's an important question. This is all great, but it's just overwhelming. It's almost too much. Anything you two would like to share on that, or maybe some best practices? Is this a great comment?
Can I just agree?
It's the reality of the world we live in.
Yeah. I think it's one of the most common questions we all hear. MVPs especially, we talk about this in a lot of different sessions. Is how do you keep up? And it's slightly different for everybody. I have certain channels, certain voices, things that I follow, people that I listen in on to keep up. but I can't. Nobody can do it all. There is. We used to kind of joke about there's no single person who knows everything about SharePoint except for Spence Harbor. That was the right. He would never claim that he knew everything about it, but he's probably the closest to knowing everything.
I just another comment came in.
Tony Redmond. You know?
Most organizations that not have MDPs, IT has no clue.
But it's impossible to follow everything, and so you know, you've got to kind of pick your sources of what the priority is, and there's certainly people that are doing deep dives on certain topics, but it just means that you have to like I listen to certain things, the Microsoft 365 blog, following the roadmap site, reading through. It's probably the single most important thing you can do is read through all the notes, all the release notes that are coming out of Microsoft 365, reading those daily emails of, hey, features that have been updated, things that are happening. That's going to be the most critical. And then doing the homework, doing a deep dive in, what is that?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that new feature, and finding out something, okay, that's not relevant, or, hey, this is something we could start using. Who else is talking about this?
Yeah.
And doing some footwork.
The best I can advise.
I think as well as far as adoption.
Go ahead, Ryan.
One thing I can say is, like, as far as adoption is, you've got to, like, somebody's got to, as Christian said, somebody's got to do the homework. In every organization, somebody at least needs to be aware of things that may relate to their organization, because not every feature is going to be beneficial to every company. There are companies out there that don't use Microsoft Teams. There are companies out there that don't take advantage of other pieces of the platform for whatever reasons. But there needs to be somebody that at least is aware of, okay, what is available out there. And then, as Christian mentioned, he kind of does it as more of a community thing, but having internal office hours where people can kind of say, hey, here's what's out there. Start brainstorming about different how we can apply and how we can use those things. It's like, okay, we have all these cool features. If nobody knows about them, what good are they?
Yeah. And that's, I would, my way of saying it is, the best advice I can get is finding the champion within your organization. It's that these are non-developer folks. These are just end users that get it and kind of understand it and want to be involved. Ideally, you're looking for someone who's got some sort of, who has a leader, who has a boss, who gets it enough and is understanding of that and willing to allow that person to invest the time necessary to at least just keep the ear to the ground. A lot of you who are listening to this webinar, it's you folk, they're interested. It's an interesting subject, and you know that 90% of it, your organization's not gonna deal with. I've had recent calls with clients where they're still stuck in email, and they're asking, "Hey, so I want to be able to have this." They ping them on Teams. I want to be able to have this conversation with a couple people. What app should I be using? Teams. And so, but it's not fair for me to be arrogant about this, because I'm not. Like, end users don't know. They just try to get their job done. So I can say, if you can find a champion or two in your organization who can just try to keep their ear to the ground, know what's happening, know what's going on, play with some things, and when they see good wins possible, they then get senior leadership or leadership buy-in to say, hey, this could really help our organization. We need to do this. And then hopefully you can find the resources to be able to do that internally, externally, or however you might do it.
One other thing I just added a link to it, Eric, just really quick, is Microsoft has, I think, learned from past mistakes, the errors of just kind of punting to the community to answer a lot of the adoption and engagement stuff, and they've created a tremendous number of resources. And so people are aware too, there are a lot of the white papers and guides and guidance that's out through docs as well as the tech community. Like I just provided the link to the Office 365 champion guide as well, but there's templates and resources, and a lot of those, some of them are Microsoft, they actually created them. Others, they're unnamed, but they were developed by community members.
Yeah.
I know we've all worked on white papers and other things that are branded Microsoft, but come from the partner and the expert communities, and Microsoft offers those resources out there. So if you're struggling with adoption around a specific workload or even across the board, there are templates, there are guides, there are email templates of what you should send out. There are suggestions on types of on-hand, face-to-face training, either one-on-one or with groups. There's just tremendous resources around that you can go in and find.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to read two comments that came in, and then I'm going to actually send this to you, to Ryan. Okay, so the 2 comments, Microsoft has tons of adoption resources, followed by Karawan as a goddess. Absolutely. So Karawan Kitumu over in the Teams team does so much championing for Teams. Google it, you'll find that information. We got 3 minutes left, 4 minutes left. I really wanted to talk about this virtual experience. Ryan, I'm going to throw this to you. You've got 2-3 minutes. What just happened with the virtual marathon? What did you do? What did you learn? What are some thoughts? Sorry, Christian, we don't get to speak on this one. Anything you want to share? I mean, this is the new norm for at least a year or 2, if not forever longer.
Yeah, it's just one of the things I think that kind of worked out really well as part of this virtual marathon is kind of just showing you can put on a huge conference without a whole lot of resources involved. We put on pretty much the entire conference with 4 people.
Wow.
Running 400 plus sessions with 300 speakers from around the world.
Wow.
Now, we did have volunteers to kind of help share the load, but it was just a massive amount of content. I think we looked at, we have over 300 hours worth of recordings just for the sessions themselves, which we're going through and just trying to make sure we have those and published as available on the YouTube channel. But it's just a lot of stuff that's there. But if you're going for like a smaller event, you just want to have an internal, whether it's for a user group, whether it's for internal to your organization, you just need to have something. If you're doing, especially if you're doing Teams live events, it's simple.
Yeah.
Your presenters, they interact with the live event pretty much exactly as if they were in a Teams meeting. They don't really notice too much. There's a few little cues in the UI as a, hey, you are live. But for the most part, it's just the same interface. They come in, like we had a few of our speakers like, hey, I'm coming in here, but this doesn't look any different than a Teams meeting. Yeah, that's the goal, is that it's simple enough for people to be able to do it. You just need to have somebody that understands the production side, which even that is simple. At this point, you say, okay, what type of content? You want all content, all video, or you want content and video off to the side? And then hit the start button. Yeah. It's really simple. So it's one of the things kind of you can go at scale and Teams can support it. Or if you need to have a smaller organization, smaller thing you're trying to focus on, it can do it without a whole lot of headache.
Very cool.
And I know that's something, just to more props to Ryan and team. So Ryan and Joel and Galen and Jeff are documenting everything that they went through and the experience pulling this stuff together. Like Joel Olson, and so he's talked about building, focusing on a couple different areas that would be public. He's got one that he's developing that's guidance, that's feedback from Microsoft internal only. But I'm really looking forward to hearing back from, organizing teams like that. Otis with with his event that they've been doing, this week that was running,
Collaboration Summit, the European
Galactic Summit. Yeah, the Galactic Summit. But they did everything using the same tools, but they pre-recorded their sessions, and then the speakers were then live on there doing Q&A and answering. They were there, but they're pre-recorded, which solved some difficulties and caused others in the technology. So it'd be interesting to look at both of those and provide that guidance out to organizations that want to do something, albeit on a smaller scale than what you guys did.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things we're talking about as well is we're planning right now. We've also got a few different user groups that we're going to be out actually talking with. And since those are all going to be virtual, since nobody can really go meet, anybody can kind of go and consume those. Just kind of say, hey, here's what we found, what we did, things that would change, things that just to be aware of. So if anybody's interested in putting something on like that on, there'll definitely be more resources that we're going to be doing, because we had 30, at least as far as like sessions, we had about 34 hours worth of content nonstop. It just went around the globe. So how does Teams handle that? What do you need to learn? What do you need to know if you want to put on, not like I said, not that scale, but if you want to put on an event, what are the gotchas that you need to be aware of?
I could add so much more. We're basically out of time. Oh my gosh, we didn't get to about half the subject I wanted to, but I really appreciate y'all being here. So much
Eric, feel free to keep talking about stuff, Eric. We do still have that 15 minutes. We can use a little bit of it to wrap up some of the other topics.
We'll wrap up here. The virtual experience, I think, is going to be very interesting to see. My little 2 cents to add on what you all said was, I go to conferences because so much content is free, available already on YouTube, et cetera, and I can learn a lot. I go to conferences for the networking, and I found a lot of the people I talk to, a lot of my clients as well, they go to network as well. They want to be able to talk to people. They want to be able to physically meet some of these people that are developing the product or working on the product that they have to use every day, et cetera. And I'm really interested to see how the virtual conferences start to deal with that. And the virtual marathon, you all have that 3D space, that Minecraft-y kind of space. And I got some good reviews on it. I don't actually have any negative reviews. It was interesting, where you are an avatar and you literally can walk around and walk in buildings and play basketball and do some interesting things. I'll be interested to see how that all evolves, because I think that's important. And I want to see how Microsoft is able to address that.
We wanted to implement as part of the marathon was we wanted that one to be able to kind of mimic the actual networking experience.
Yeah.
Because as part of that, you're in a virtual world, you can move around. If you move away from somebody, just like in real world, their voice gets quieter.
Yeah.
So it's possible you can have multiple conversations all going on in the same space, just like in real world. Instead of like in a Teams meeting where you have to say, okay, we want to have this conversation going on, you have to wait for that conversation to wrap up, and then, okay, now we can have this conversation. You can just kind of go off and say, hey, we want to go talk about this, go segregate off someplace else, go have your conversation. And I think for me personally, I like that experience better than just, hey, I'm going to talk to somebody on a flat screen.
I agree.
Because you actually do get a little bit more of the depth. You have a little more perception. Even if you're not in virtual reality, there's the 2D mode where you can still interact and talk, but if you're in 3D, you got the full hand motions. You can see them moving around, their heads moving around the body. It's almost as if you're right there, other than it just doesn't look like them.
Yeah.
So it's just a nice supplement to be able to get that mode in place.
That's one of the most difficult aspects of, especially with Microsoft moving their premier events to online, how they're going to replicate that experience, what they're going to provide. Because look, you go into something like, especially Inspire, which if you're not familiar with Microsoft Inspire, which is the sales and marketing, it's the partner event, and it's for like my business, the last decade, it's been the most important conference, even ahead of Ignite in the fall. But both of those, and I would argue that the interactions, the FaceTime with partners and Microsoft people is so much more important than sessions and the content. So how do you replicate that? So that I think that's where Microsoft needs to get creative, and I'm interested to see here. It's supposed to be it's on the schedule for end of next month, end of July for Inspire, and then in the fall for Ignite. What are they going to do to replicate that?
Definitely, I know more than a few people who went to Inspire without a ticket. They didn't have a pass. They didn't need it because of networking, and you can't duplicate that. Even if Inspire online is free, its Build was free. Isn't that wild too? Build used to be a pretty exclusive event because hard to get into, a couple $1,000s. Your all-in cost could easily be $5,000, $10,000 after a hotel, after travel, after all the time you have to take off, etc. And now it's free. That'll be interesting as well. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let's wrap this up. I mean, I really appreciate you all joining us. Great conversations. We could keep speaking for hours, but I know that will get a little too long for all of us. Great overview of what's happening. I know we're going to do this again after Ignite, because again, it'll be another virtual event. We'll have another 5-6 months under our belt to see all the cool things that have changed and whatnot. I'm looking forward to having the conversation and seeing this continue to evolve. So I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you both, Ryan and Christian, for joining us. Any last words the two of you have? We'll start with Ryan.
Say just be safe, enjoy your time together, and connect in ways that you can.
Absolutely.
And I'll just point people to, since Ryan is neglecting sharing this, is like all of the recordings for the virtual marathon will be going up on YouTube. So they started to start rolling out. So you can go out to do a search. Just the full name of it is youtube.com/c/ and then write it out, Microsoft 365 Virtual Marathon, no spaces, and you'll get to that collection. And so I think we should start to see them flowing in bulk like over the weekend.
So cool.
Yeah, We spent some time figuring out this week how we wanted to automate the process. The initial approach was ridiculously slow. We've come up with some approaches where it's drastically sped up the time frame to process those, because we had them in rooms that were 7.5 hours long. So trying to split that out into 6 different sessions, it can take some time. So, but we do have it down, so the content should be flowing a lot more quickly, as in the next, so you should see a lot more over the next couple days of things kind of flowing out there. But
excellent.
Thank you, Christian.
We had some nice thanks coming in on the questions. Appreciate your thanks. Thank you for all joining us. Glad you like our content, blogs, the resources, etc. Again, thank you both. And Michael, I'll hand it back to you for any final cleanup. But again, thank you all for joining us. I love these conversations. I do geek out on them too much.
Exactly. Yeah. These are some of our favorite webinars to do. We can put some of our favorite people in the same room, quote unquote, and talk about this the amazing stuff that's going on in our community. Everyone, thank you so much for being here today. We always love having you guys here. Thank you so much again, like Eric said, for your great questions and comments. Thank you, Christian and Ryan, of course, for joining us. It's always lovely to have you guys. Hope to have you guys back again soon. For everybody who's interested, our next webinar is going to feature the one and only Sue Hanley. She'll be presenting a session on I should just say the session title, Content That Delivers, Create Effective and Accessible SharePoint Pages and News. If you don't know who Sue Hanley is, look her up. She is an amazing asset to our community. We feel very fortunate to have her. So that'll be coming up on June 25th. And then we'll have Eric coming back in July, and we'll have more about that session coming up soon. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. Again, happy Thursday, and we'll see you all down the road. Take it easy, everyone.
Thank you all. Thanks, Ryan and Christian. Bye, all.